Universe Beyond One, a mushroom trip report posted to the Vivec Discord. The sun rose and shone through my window as Tuesday reared its head. Over the past 3 weeks I'd been feeling a calling to trip, a calling stronger than I'd really felt before. I'd been planning this trip for a week, trying to mentally prepare myself and ensure that nothing would interrupt me while I was tripping. I almost didn't take this opportunity to trip though, because of a dream I had that Tuesday morning. Most of the other memories of that dream have escaped me, but the important part was that I dreamt that my mum had caught me tripping. Near the end of the dream though, I recall my older brother taking me aside and saying something along the lines of, "Don't worry, I've done it too. I'll handle it for you." When, in reality, my older brother is not the type of person who would trip at all, so I found it strange that he was defending me. Because of this dream, I decided to go about my day extremely carefully and mindfully, ensuring that everything was just right and that I was in a good enough headspace to be tripping. So after taking care of some chores and cleaning my room, organising it to be the perfect space for tripping, I refilled my water bottle, made some tea, and at around 5 PM, I began my usual pre-trip meditation. When I felt the waves of calm flow through me, I knew it was time to take it. I ate the whole mushroom chocolate bar, and boy was it delicious. I felt perfectly prepared to explore the depths of my mind. The come up was a little rocky. I started to notice it in the form of some light nausea and anxiety, though I didn't usually feel anxious coming up. It felt like the nausea came in waves, where it would slightly intensify and then subside, repeating that process over and over again. I started to notice my first visuals when I was staring at the posters in my room. They would shimmer a little bit, and almost appear as if they were falling or fading into the background while another copy of it would appear in front of it as it fades. I laid down and took it all in. Aside from the nausea, I was having a great time, just riding the high, watching the colours and geometry around me gently rise in intensity. Then at some point, I decided to quiet my mind a little and close my eyes. I felt a presence there right behind my own eyelids. It was almost as if they were knocking from the inside of my head saying, "Hello? Anyone there?" I was so fucking astonished that I opened my eyes and basically jumped out of my bed reeling. I mean, what the hell even was that? Is this what meeting entities is like? I shook off my nervousness and laid back down again, trying to settle the nausea and closing my eyes. When these strangers spoke, it was much less like audible speech and more akin to their words popping up in my mind. I then said something back to whoever this was in my head. "Hello?" My speech rang out into the space around me. The stranger's only response to it was their gentle aura, their presence that seemed to envelop me in something warm and loving, like a blanket of infinity. They seemed to be able to hear me when I spoke out loud, so that's how I ended up getting their attention. "Is anyone there?" I asked, and felt a response appear in front of my train of thought. It was a loving, "Hello there." Again, I shook off the surprise and continued to expand into this mindscape where the stranger was. Then, I slowly started to realise that it wasn't just one person, it was a whole group of people, and it felt like they were looking down upon me as I lay there. It almost gave me the vibe of a hospital, with a team of nurses simply doing their thing around me and taking care of me, and this aforementioned stranger started to make his role clear to me. Everyone in that space had such a genuine and caring energy surrounding them. It was almost like my mind had communicated exactly what I needed in the moment, which was something or someone to help ease the tension and great discomfort in my body. It was like a hospital of rebirth and healing. "Who are you, sir?" I asked out loud. A response came. "Think of me as your doctor. We'll take good care of you, don't worry." I turned my attention to the others in the room, the nurse-like ones who were going about their business around me in this mindscape. All of this was so confounding. Meanwhile, my waves of nausea refused to subside, occasionally sending some convulsions through my waking body. "What's happening to me, sir? Is this what death is like? Am I really dying already?" I asked. This person, who I'll refer to as the doctor, responded by making their loving and caring aura even stronger and more all-encompassing, totally shrouding my heart and mind with love. "Dying? That's a complicated question. In one sense of the word, you'll live stronger than ever, but in the other sense, yes, you could say you are dying. It all felt so rapturous, the way all my senses seemed to mix into one another, with my stomach turning over and over. Something was surely slipping away from me, that being the entire world around me. Every atom from my waking life was falling into nothingness with me, and with the doctor. He gave off the feeling of a divine guide, someone who exists only to help me pass entirely into this other plane, someone who lives to expand love. I became much more sure of what was really happening here. I was indeed dying, you know, feeling my memories disappear and meld into one another, lying in my bed, transforming into the mindscape. I was dying and felt so good. It felt so incredibly good to let go of everything in the waking world, so euphoric to become this, whatever the hell I was actually becoming. Through all the ecstasy and bliss cascading into me, I managed to mutter quietly, "Hey doctor, I'm gonna be okay, right?" "Of course," the doctor responded. "You have us, and we're right here to help you through." He continued to project his aura into this space around us, and the more my ego and the world surrounding it slipped out of focus, the stronger this strangely powerful love became. I knew for sure I was in good hands, and this love continued to permeate my soul. It flowed and poured into me like nothing I've ever felt before. A pure and conscious effort to help me let go of the world I experienced before this one. "Do you want me to hold your plushie while you go?" I lifted my weak arms off my bed to grab my Totoro plushie that I always put right beside my bed, and gave the doctor a hushed in response. "Just please take care of my body. Don't let it do anything weird while I'm not in it." In the most gentle and loving tone I've ever felt, he said, "Where we're going, you won't need that body." I then averted my gaze from him, noticing something entirely new. There were giant, blue, glowing ethereal beings holding bows pointed up at the sky, the expansive, beautiful, unending cosmos. Lined up at the feet of the giants were souls like mine, ready to cross between planes. The giants would take one of these souls, load them into the bow, and fire them off into the sky. They glistened so brightly as they flew, and every single one of them soared out into the deep. I realized that each one of them was morphing into a new form when they reached the place in the cosmos. Every soul transformed into a star, the very same stars that sing us to sleep at night, their symphony of voices just as radiantly beautiful as they are everlasting. I exhaustedly stuttered out a sentence using what little energy I had left in my body. "Doctor, take care of my body while I'm gone." In that moment, I felt my body in the waking world slip away entirely, and with it went all the nausea and unease and churning of my stomach. I was through. I made my transition entirely into this space with no inkling of concern about the body I left behind, incorporating myself into this sort of spirit body. It was the most liberating feeling in existence, so much that it was beyond existence, beyond anything my mouth or my keyboard could ever express in 1,000 pages. I was in line, then slowly approaching the feet of one of the giants. I waited in reverence, soaking in the sheer bliss of the mindscape and its everlasting love. There was no time, and all times existing at once. No way for my mind to measure or quantify the things around me, and there was no need to either. Trying to organize or define such a thing in your head would be ultimately pointless. I finally approached the foot of one of the giants, and outstretched my arm to rest my hand on him. It was beyond magical, simply to be touching it. I glanced at the doctor again, silently thanking him for bringing me here. Then the giant's hand moved down next to me, ready to pick me up and notch me into his great bow. So I stepped into his hand, let him do his work. I've never felt more prepared for anything in my life. He loaded me up, and with a silent nod farewell, sent me soaring into the expanse. Part of me doesn't even know what to write next. I felt every single bit of information accumulate into one great entirety. It was like the eschaton of every idea and every feeling. No single border or division was in existence anymore. Division was just a faded remnant of my past life, which served to test every being in its measure of universal love. There was no need for division, no need for any resistance, no need to understand and quantify, no need to know how much time I had been here or whether I'd really been here all along. I felt there's no existence more genuine than this, which gave me the impression that it was the deepest level of love and consciousness one could ever find. I would continue to exist here for time immemorial, forever and evermore. When all of that slowly began to subside, I started to feel my body again. Ever so slowly, the idea of a surrounding world returned to my mind, while the feeling of divinity began to fade. What did not fade, though, was the oneness, the feeling that everything and everyone is one and the same. Every piece of the waking world was linked to every other, and they have been linked for all of existence. We are all stars. We are all part of the same universal performance. We are every instrument and every voice in it. We are the hands that play the instruments, and we are the vibrations that echo through space, culminating in the cosmic sonata of unity. It's a divine unity, which reaches beyond love and comprehension. When I opened my eyes, I almost gasped for air, as if I'd come up to the surface of the ocean after an eternity in the water, clawing at the sand of reality and dragging myself back onto the shore of the waking world. I still felt it all existing within me, the hum of the instruments of the universe. I was coming down from the awe-inspiring crescendo of the cosmic song and dance, gently waving and shimmering in bliss, because I was definitely still tripping. Almost immediately I opened Discord in excitement, ready to share this experience and feeling of oneness with the world. I talked about it online with some good friends, and all the while, listening to music, singing my heart out and dancing around my room, despite the persisting stomachache. To be honest, I couldn't care less about the pain, because I was just so busy reveling in the glory of being alive, the glory of the felt presence of immediate experience. I felt so conscious and in love with the world without the walls of my ego in the way of my truest emotions, and it was one of the happiest moments of my life. Just like my first trip, I can't thank you enough for reading this. I don't know what I'd do if I couldn't share this experience with someone out there, almost as if it beckons to be shared and spread, just like the endless love that permeates this world. There was so much to this trip that every part of it simply oozes meaning and profundity to me. Once you see yourself in everything, you'll never forget the feeling of discovering that. Infinite love will continue to run its courses through us, through all conscious beings, and it will never leave. The most powerful thing in the universe is right inside ourselves, hiding right under our noses. It hides in every tree, every river, every grain of sand and soil, every inkling of empty space and every star in the night sky. What are we without our guiding lights but a whisper in the crowd that simply watches the cosmic performance? Love yourself, everyone, because you mean so much more than you know. That was an astounding mushroom trip report posted by Fruitcake onto the Vivec Discord. Thank you so much for writing that up and articulating that experience for us. Probably one of the very best written reports I've featured to date. Just a great use of language, and it really conveyed the feeling of the experience. A great case study in how these transcendental mushroom experiences can accentuate your appreciation of life, and it's very telling that not only do mushrooms have the ability to heal PTSD and allow you to work through trauma, work through shadow, it also has a major potential to let you see into the deeper truths of what's going on with reality, deeper truths of the universe. It allows you to become one with the mystery of life. How did it all come here? What is going on? What's behind the scenes? And it's great for these sort of, I'd say, godless, nihilistic, materialist people who think, oh, life's shit, innit? Oh, what's the point? And yeah, I completely understand where they're coming from, because I literally was that guy at one point. And thanks to experiences like the one conveyed in this trip report, it completely restructures and shatters your paradigm of reality, and it allows you to become more aware of the meta narrative of life, the universe, consciousness, God, source, whatever you want to call it, and how beautiful it is that the separation that we experience within our physical reality that we know and love is actually even greater than meets the eye, because you can already fall in love with life within the duality of it, within the dual nature of experience. And then when you go through into the non-dual awakenings, you see that, oh, actually there was no separation, there is no division, it's all just a construct spun by the finite mind in order to keep it itself separate. So obviously it has to do that, or else you would literally merge with your mum or your dad or your environment. And this is what happens, say, when you take psychedelics and you start having an ego death or a breakthrough. You're basically merging the barrier between you and the external, the barrier between you and other, completely dissipates. It's a bit like in Evangelion with the AT field, where it's like it's the mental blockage that people put up between each other so that they can't connect and understand and embrace each other. And then when that field, the AT field, dissolves, it allows everyone to become more unified. Obviously, no matter how deep your breakthrough is, you always come back. You always come back to this finite experience, because like many of the trip reports and many of my experience sort of try and tell you, whether it's for an entity or just your direct consciousness of the insights that the trip's giving you, it's trying to tell you that you are experiencing finity, you're experiencing your own finitude, and you're experiencing separation, because it's sort of part of the journey of your soul or consciousness, if you want to call it that. I think they're sort of interchangeable in a sense. Your spirit, whatever you want to say, it's sort of on a journey to understand itself within this form, to grow and learn, evolve, and struggle through hardships and come out the other end a deeper person and be appreciative for the yin and the yang of reality, and walk the fine line between both of them without getting too caught up in either side, and seeing the beauty in non-duality. And yeah, that's why these experiences are really helpful. And another thing I found about it that was quite interesting was it had a lot of parallels to my mushroom experience last year. Well, actually not last year, but 2 years ago at Rosa Festival, when I had loads of Liberty Caps, foolishly ate loads of them, and yeah, don't do that, kids. I was very stupid about it, and it ended up sort of kicking me in the arse, and I had this really dire stomachache, like literal stabbing pains inside and out, and it came in waves. You can find that story, I'll link it in the description below. It was like my deepest trip to date, or my most profound trip to date, and it was genuinely agonizing. And the problem was, I was making it worse by not letting go, not embracing it, and just being like, oh god, I wish this would just go away. And then when it would go away, I'd be like, oh, back to peace, back to happiness, back to goodness again. And then it'd come back up, sort of trying to teach me a lesson about, like, what are you doing? You're literally in a fetal position in this tent. You need to embrace the pain, suck it up, bite the bullet, and realize that you can get through it and conquer it with consciousness and the very act of letting go. And as soon as I got out of that tent, as soon as I just grabbed reality by the balls and was like, yeah, fuck this, I'm just going to persevere. And I got out of the tent, and you know what? Within 20 minutes, this stomachache had gone. And it was sort of like the universe was beckoning me to get out of the tent, being in this fetal position, this depressed fetal position, while all my mates were outside in the festival, all the beautiful people who were there, and the great music, the love that is out there that is also me in a sense. And I was in the fetal position, completely separating myself from them, creating my own suffering, and then it's like the universe made me suffer so that I woke up and broke through out of the tent, and in a sense I ended up breaking through quite literally. The trip turned my whole reality into a fucking dream world. It was crazy. I was experiencing things that are literally physically impossible. So if you want to hear more about that, please check out the video in the description. But yep, thank you Fruitcake. Big ups. I'll feature more trip reports from the Vivec Discord because they are just done an extremely high quality. I get lots of trip report submissions, and you probably noticed that I don't really feature many of them at all. And it's really due to the fact that I do cherry pick trip reports, because not only do I want to check them and see if they're legit, because quite clearly a lot of people who send me trip reports are just chatting shit. I also look for ones that they're written well, structured well, grammar, nice narrative to it, something that conveys a feeling, because at the end of the day, I'm not really here to just do robotic, I took this drug and then I fell out window and then I was in a bad way. Like, something that's, it's got a movie, hasn't it? It's a trip report. There's an art to it. It's writing, it's creative writing, but it's conveying a very real experience that these people have. And that's why I think a lot of people get really stuck on, oh my god, it's fake, innit, bro? Because I don't think most people, including myself, aren't capable of writing as creatively as how Fruitcake has done in this report, and all the best reports I've ever written. These people have an innate ability, or maybe a harnessed ability, of practice makes perfect after all, of just being able to write creatively and convey feelings and just write like a novel. And then people are like, oh well, no one can write like a novel. It's like, well yeah, some people can. Just because you can't doesn't mean another person can. Yeah, so that's why I'm more inclined to believe them than most people. I think the people who just think that, oh, I took the drug and then 5 minutes later I felt weird and then 10 minutes later I saw Jesus and then I went to sleep, they're more inclined to believe that, because that's probably how they'd write it, because they don't have a very good ability to recollect their experience purely. A lot of people, it's just all muddled and jumbled, and they could never actually figure out a chronology of events or form a narrative around that. And yeah, so I do cherry pick these reports, and there are great. The reason Aerith is so brilliant is because they have to go through an analysis process, and they have to be reviewed. My report that I sent up, I posted about this in my community post. My report of me running around Manchester naked and my ego death, which, to be fair, was pretty well written for someone who hadn't been in school or written anything in years. That's been like almost 3 years. It took 3 years for that to get reviewed and put up on the site. I completely forgot I'd even sent it in. That was alright buzz when I went on my emails and was like, hey, it's out there for the world to see in another format now, like. And yeah, you're probably sick of me talking now, because I also am as well. So yeah, I'll see you on the other side, and definitely check out the Vivec Discord, give us a message, and yeah, love to see what you have to say, Psychonauts.